got an email. Okay, we're going to call the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for December the 11th, 2018 to order. We're going to start with an invocation, and then I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll stand with me as you desire, and Alderman Barnhill, please.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer and thank you tonight for all the many blessings that we have in this great nation. We thank you for the local blessings that we have. We give you thanks for all of the people who protect those freedoms and those blessings, whether they're military, whether they're police, first responders. We ask that your blessings be upon them and upon their families. We know that separation at this time of the year is very trying, and we ask that you be with each of the families. We also ask that you be with each of us tonight as members of the board. We ask that you give us the wisdom and guidance that we need in order to make the decisions that we make. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now's an opportunity for citizens to make comments for items that are not on the agenda. Our usual routine is to have speaker cards, and those speaker cards are presented before the meeting, and I have no speaker cards tonight, so we'll move on to communications from the Williamson County Commission. Is anyone here from the commission? I see no one. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the November 27th work session and the November 27th, 2018 Board of Mayor and Alderman.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion. Seconded by Ty.
It doesn't matter.
Alderman Blanton did the second. So any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Are there any recognitions tonight or any miscellaneous reports?
I'd like to make 2 recognitions, actually. One is Carl Boffman's in the audience tonight, and Carl will be retiring at the end of this week, will be his last official day, and Carl has served as our traffic engineer for the past 18 years. So first and only, yeah, well, our first, not our only. We still have some others now, but Carl has served with distinction. He has great technical knowledge and experience. He is a thorough, responsive, first-class employee, and we're proud of him and want to wish him well in retirement. So, Carl, let's recognize you. So if you have any traffic questions, you got about 3 days to get with Carl. There are other folks who can help you too, but thank you, Carl. And I do want to make one recognition as well. Is Tom Marsh with us? Thought I saw him before, but I'm not sure where he is. Okay. Well, Tom's not in the room right now, but Tom.
Big moment.
Tom is moving into help us in a interim department director role in building and neighborhood services. Chris Bridgewater is remaining with us, but taking on a different role within the department. And so Tom has agreed to step up into that role, and I just wanted to thank Tom for his willingness to help us and lead during that time of transition in that department. So want to thank him for that too. So that's all.
Any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature, but the governing body that will be approved is recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. Tonight we're considering items number 18 through 29. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
And a second by Alderman Martin. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 3, this is a public hearing. Consideration resolution 2018-82 to be entitled a resolution approving a revised development plan for Parish Presbyterian Church PUD with one modification of development standards, base and cap for the property located north of Clough Road and east of Market Street. Clarification, we'll have to approve the modification standard first and then vote on the whole enchilada, right?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. Envision Franklin recommends a single-family residential design concept for this area with a special consideration for institutional uses. The special consideration from Envision Franklin recommends institutional uses may be appropriate if the location does not negatively impact access, scale, and traffic of the surrounding area. A traffic study reviewed by city staff and an outside consultant confirmed that this revision did not negatively impact traffic along Clovercroft Road in any way that was not already being addressed from the previous development plan for this location. City engineering staff continue to work with the applicant and neighboring developments to improve the visibility and safety of Clovercroft Road. The building design, setbacks, massing, and scale of the development are compatible with the built environment. For the modification of standards, number 1, building facades base and cap. City of Franklin, Chapter 5364C states, buildings shall have a defined base and cap. The applicant and city staff agree that an agrarian style of architecture would be the most suitable in this location. Agrarian style is typified by a heavy reliance on batten board, minimal stone brick, and gambrel roof pitches. This uniformity in style cannot be achieved under the City of Franklin standard of a defined base cap style of architecture. The agrarian style is unique in Franklin and only acceptable in limited geographic areas. This site is one of them. Staff recommends approval of this modification of standards request. Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of the development plan.
Is there anyone who wants to speak to this body during the public hearing? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed and would entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Martin,
Second.
seconded by Alderman McClendon. Now we'll go to the modification. No. Got you. So we'll now go to the modification of standard. Is there a motion to approve the modification of standard?
So moved.
Second. Seconded by Alderman Speedy. Any discussion on the modification of standard? Alderman Berger.
I just want to make one point that I am a member of this church, but I'm going to be voting on this tonight as well. Don't have a conflict of interest in any way that I feel is detrimental to my vote, to my representation.
Any other comments about the modification of standard? Seeing none, ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we're ready to vote on the entire motion, including the modification of standard. We already have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 4, this is a public hearing consideration ordinance 2018-54, an ordinance to rezone 75.52 acres from specific developmental residential district to civic institutional for the property located west of Carruthers Parkway, east of Interstate I-65.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. My name is Chris Andrews with the Planning Department. Item 4 is a rezoning request. The applicant is requesting to rezone City of Franklin property from specific development residential 2.92 district within the Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision to the civic and institutional district. The subject property is planned to be part of the City of Franklin Southeast Municipal Complex Park. And subsequent items on tonight's agenda are planned to remove the property from the Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision. Both Planning Commission and staff support the request.
Speak to this body. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. We'll entertain a motion. Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 5, this is a public hearing consideration ordinance 2018-55. Be entitled an ordinance to rezone 126.89 acres from specific developmental residential district to specific developmental residential SDR 5.03 district for the property located east of Carruthers and south of Carruthers Road. Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This the applicant is requesting to rezone from SDR 2.9 to SDR 5.03. That's reflective of removing the land from the Lockwood Glen PUD. The change in density, as I said, is reflected due to taking out the City of Franklin property and does not include any additional dwelling units, and no other modifications or changes are being made as part of this request tonight. Both Planning Commission and staff support the request.
Is
Does anyone want to speak to this body? Public hearing? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McClendon. Any discussion? Everybody clear, ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 6, this is a public hearing, consideration resolution 2018-89 to be entitled a resolution approving revised development plan for Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision for the property located east of Carruthers and Parkway and south of South Carruthers Road.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the applicant is requesting a revised development plan for the Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision to remove the previously rezoned City of Franklin owned property, which again was rezoned in item 4, as it's slated to be part of the city's Southeast Municipal Complex Park. The applicant, again, is making no other revisions to the previously approved Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision development plan. Both Planning Commission and staff support the request.
Speak to this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion. Appropriate motion by
Second.
Alderman Blanton, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 7, consideration ordinance 2018-35, an ordinance to amend Title 10 of the City of Franklin Municipal Code to add a new Chapter 3 to restrict the sale of cats and dogs, rather dogs and cats at pet stores.
I move for approval.
I'll second that with a couple of comments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You allow her to make first comments,
Sure,
Alderman Burns?
go ahead. Mhm.
Well,
Alderman Bransford.
now, it's just, I've received, several calls and a few people stopped me in the grocery store regarding this ordinance and to indicate for us to make sure that we were not, maybe overreaching. And, I voted in the affirmative the last time and I plan to do so this time as well. But it's, they was concerned about if we go down this slippery slope, is there a potential of, next thing, some advocacy group could come in and say that we do not like the eggs or the chicken or the milk or the beef or whatever that's being sold in certain stores. So I think it's important for us to kind of articulate our point on this because if you remember the last 2 weeks when one of my colleagues mentioned going to the pet store to talk with a pet owner to engage him in conversation about disclosure, because in my opinion, it's very important to have disclosure or informed consent when you are purchasing something. And according to my colleague, that this person said that they could not do that. That was a red flag for me, and that's why I voted in the affirmative to move this ordinance forward, because if you cannot give full disclosure or do not wish to give full disclosure until you have purchased, and then there was no guarantees. So I just want to make sure those people who have contacted me, email or at home watching tonight, is that the pet store owner that cannot and will not give you full disclosure of the owner of the birth and the conditions of the puppies or the animals, that should be a real red flag for us as consumers. But I also would like to add that if someone comes to us, I would like to think that this board will entertain a pet owner that want to open up a little shop on Main Street and sell puppies that are vetted properly, that would be something that we could entertain as a board. That's all I want to add.
Alderman Berger, you want to make comments?
Sure.
Then I'll recognize Alderman Clinton, then Alderman Speed.
I just want to say thank you for your votes last time, and I hope that we will be supportive of this ordinance. There was a breaking story the other day, and I just want to refer to it. I think it's very apropos to this evening. The investigations of the Humane Society, under 2 investigations just recently, linked, and we did mention, it's a national story of Petland stores, and they had been looking in the area. And remember, this vote tonight is about the future of Franklin and what we're going to allow. And this is an animal. This is not an innate object that sits here like a cup. This is a living, breathing animal. And pet stores, the two investigations from the Humane Society linked Petland stores to inhumane, large-scale dog breeders that prioritize profits above animal welfare, also known as puppy mills, as well as distributors, aka brokers, that resell puppies en masse to stores. And in this investigation, it's quite lengthy, but I just picked out a few quick points. I'll be brief. Puppies in pet stores are often sick because many of them come from inhumane, unsanitary facilities known as puppy mills. The puppies are crowded into large broker trucks with scores of other puppies for shipments. You can have one infected puppy, it can infect many or all. In addition, more than 1,200 complaints have received by the Humane Society and the website Consumer Affairs, and has had more than 580 reviews of Petland, most of them critical. Many of the reviewers said they complained of sick and dying puppies, as well as humans getting Campylobacter. Then it went on, the CDC has said that in January 2018, this year, the Federal Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported that the multi-state outbreak of human Campylobacter infections had sickened 113 people in 17 different states, a number that later increased to 118 people in 18 states. And most of these people infected had recently been in contact with puppies from Petland stores, and 23 were hospitalized. In February 2018, Atlanta news station reported that a teenager who has worked at a mall in Georgia, Petland, became seriously ill, harboring Campylobacter, and sometimes that bacteria is immune to antibiotics. 95% of the pet store puppies that the CDC studied had been medicated with strong drugs, sometimes as preventive measures, leading to drug-resistant strains, the CDC had indicated. And finally, as the holiday seasons reach a fever pitch, the Humane Society of the United States urges consumers never to buy puppies from pet stores because puppies in pet stores are often sick. Many of them come from inhumane dealers known as puppy mills. Most of them do. Responsible breeders do not sell to pet stores because they want to meet the families who take home the puppies and stay in touch with any problems that may arise and know who is owning their puppies. So just wanted to share that very timely piece that came out in the news yesterday.
Alderman McClendon.
I too, like Alderman Bransford, was contacted by people who wondered if this was an ordinance that put us on the proverbial slippery slope. They wanted to know where I would draw the line. I think it's wise to be cognizant when you are stepping into an area of legislation like this. I might have been the first person to wonder aloud in this room, well, what's next? Beer, adult magazines, guns, whatever. Ultimately, there are some distinctions that I would draw between some number of other things that people might not like and this particular circumstance. One is that many of those other items are already heavily regulated at state, federal, and local levels. There is substantial amount of regulation, for example, of firearms. There's a significant amount of regulation, for example, of alcohol production and distribution. There is not a correspondingly significant amount of regulation or oversight in the field that is the breeding and distribution of puppies and I guess cats too. But so there's an absence of pervasive regulation. There's also some of those other areas. It's kind of moot to wonder whether or not we would or wouldn't do it because there's something called preemption, which means that even if we wanted to, we couldn't regulate it. There are lots of areas that by state law are preempted from local regulation. We can't do it even if we wanted to. And also a significant distinction for me was, as Alderman Berger pointed out, this is in fact an animal, a living, breathing thing, not an inanimate object. It also weighed on me that after we publicly discussed and I was prepared to support an amendment to merely require disclosure of the breeder at the point of sale. That the one store in existence at the time in the city either could not or would not do that, notwithstanding the fact that they had the information and only made it available to their customers after the purchase. That bothered me a lot. And when I started looking at, well, what would you get if you got the breeder's name? The answer turned out to be not very much unless the breeder gave you everything that they could, because a lot, if not almost everything, that you can get publicly has been redacted so heavily that it's pointless. So I tend to favor the least restrictive measure that will accomplish the goal for anything, whether it's this or any other thing. And sometimes the least restrictive measure is merely to let the market play out. In this instance, however, I think the moment is right. We don't have any business in this town selling puppies at a storefront. That also makes me think that there must be something going on here. So, you know, is it better? Is it necessarily better that a person who wants a puppy finds a local breeder? Maybe. However, I represent a client now who has exactly all these same problems with a private breeder that they found exactly the way that we now will make people do it. So it's not a perfect solution, but there isn't a perfect solution. As Alderman Bransford said, if someone came along and demonstrated a business model that addressed the concerns that I have about the source and the disclosure and the information that would be available to the consumer, and also the quality of life for the animal both before and after the point of sale, I would be willing to entertain that, because I don't want to just say no and be done with it. But we'll see what the state legislature does, if anything, to either prohibit us from regulation, or maybe they'll step up and do something good. But for now, and unless things change, or unless someone comes along with a business model that has not yet been demonstrated in this community, I'm going to support this ordinance.
Alderman Speedy.
I'm going to kind of briefly summarize, I guess, one letter from a constituent that I got, and her experience, I guess, in buying 3 different puppies. She said, "I understand the need to support shelters, but that doesn't work for everyone. We adopted our first pet and ended up picking him up at a gas station in Boaz, Alabama. He's a great dog. We love him to pieces. 2 years ago, we bought our Shizzy Poo from the pet store everyone was referring to. She's sweet, healthy, store was great. She felt super comfortable with what she was doing. Puppy had all the appointments with a local veterinarian, specific with list of instructions on care. She said, I then helped my parents find a puppy, and we went through several breeders through the internet. Ended up dealing with a couple of scam breeders and ended up picking up their dog at yet another gas station in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I think it's sad the store's closed. I know several families have had a great experience in the puppy buying experiences, but I have to say that I, as a single mother, appreciated the professional, personal experience we had at the Poffick Puppy more than the doggy drug deal experiences with the other 2. And so I guess my concern is we are eliminating that choice, and we're essentially giving a monopoly to the shelters and the rescue agencies in town. We all got the letter from the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council. I think they have a couple of common sense solutions that would probably satisfy Alderman McClendon. Animals come only from USDA licensees. Breeders sourcing animals in any current or future Franklin Pet Store shall not have an entry on their last USDA inspection that directly impacts animal health. And I guess when we start talking about what's substantial or significant regulation, I just think it's very subjective. So I'm still going to oppose the ordinance.
Alderman Barnhill.
You know, I guess when we sit here and listen to what we listen to, I find it quite interesting that someone thinks that this ordinance does anything to reduce or restrict puppy mills. Simply doesn't do it. I mean, it's not there. There's nothing there that will do that. You know, what has happened over the course of a year is this. Through the concentrated effort of a few and through inaction on the part of the city, or delay of action, we basically put the guy in a position where, with the publicity that he had, he wasn't able to function. I don't think that's government's responsibility. It's not why I sit here anyway. I'm not picking and choosing. If I thought this ordinance would put a puppy mill out of business, and you don't have to point it, you don't have to name it. If I thought it would, I'd support it, but I don't think it does. And all of the emails that I got, all of the puppies that I got, and all of the pictures that I got of abused puppies, this ordinance doesn't prevent that. There are laws on the books that do prevent that. Well, there are laws on the books that prosecute those people who are responsible for that abuse. And for us to suppose that every animal that comes from the animal control shelter or whatever is healthy and emotionally stable, and every animal, and that's what we're getting, the animals that come from the pet store are not, that's ridiculous. That's just not the case. If you go to the animal shelter, you will not find every dog in there to be healthy. You will not find every dog in there to be emotionally stable. You will have the same issues with them that you have with these pets here. We are in a very, very, very slippery slope, and I think Alderman McClendon mentioned the state legislature. I suspect that this issue will be accelerated at the state level based upon our actions tonight. I am very disappointed that Alderman wished to restrict a free trade, a free process, and we're taking a business that's legal, making it illegal that doesn't exist. I mean, I've spent a lot of time up here and voted on a lot of ordinances, but I've never voted on taking a legal business, making it illegal that does not currently exist. I just simply am amazed at the thought process, and I will look any of you in the eye and tell you that if this bill right here, this ordinance did anything that you can demonstrate, not that you can suppose, but you can demonstrate, well, I would support that. And I'll support through the state legislature, wherever else it is, a state regulation on puppy mills if we do it statewide. It does not need to be something where we're driving from the top trying to create a solution, and the only thing we've done is put somebody out of business. It may very well be that there could be a dislike for the person that was doing the business. There could be a vendetta against the person that was doing the business. I really don't know. But for whatever reason, one business, he has closed his doors, and I find that to be an extremely, extremely slippery slope that we're on. And we can say it's the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and we can call all these 113 different people who have been stricken with some disease or something other. I mean, you probably could have researched and found that many that were stricken from adoptions through an animal shelter or something other. So, and there's been 7 cities that have been sued. They've all won their lawsuit. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that what we're going through here is necessarily compatible to whatever the other 7 lawsuits were. I don't want to predict what will happen here. I really think that, I don't think we've heard the last of this. You may have for a while. I don't think the board has. And, you know, it's a situation where we don't need to be regulating something such as this right here.
Alderman Martin.
Puppy mills will continue. They will just be selling somewhere else. But if we want to make a point of abhorring the puppy mill business by passing this ordinance, that's what we're doing. We're not gonna stop the puppy mills, you know, just because we do this. I will support the ordinance because I too want to make a statement, but it is not going to eliminate puppy mills. And as long as, if people want pets, they'll be in existence. And I just pray that they will be taken care of. Although, let me say, when you buy a pet from a pet store, you are essentially taking care of an abused animal yourself. So you're doing a good thing by doing that. But I will support this ordinance.
Alderman Berger.
Just to clarify a few things real quick. The PIJAC is an out-of-state lobbyist, and they send the same letter that we got to everyone throughout the United States that opposes pet store ordinances. That's their thing. They're a lobbyist. The other thing, the USDA license means very little because a dog can spend its entire life in a cage barely big enough to stand up. And the lack of oversight is exactly why we need this ordinance, the lack of oversight. Yes, it does mean everything when 7 cities are sued and all 7 cities win a lawsuit. But how many cities were sued? Only 7. And how many have ordinances? Right now, 280 plus. And there are 18 in the wing right now, and we're one of those cities. So yes, 280 cities and 18 more, along with Franklin, that is going to impact puppy mills. You better believe it. And as people see that Franklin steps up, people look at Franklin all the time and pattern many of their ordinances and many of their planning documents, everything after Franklin. And this is another thing, we're a pet city. So they're looking at us and saying, what's Franklin doing? And we're not restricting free trade. There are breeders all over the place. There are hundreds of them in Tennessee that can be in business breeding dogs. But you can go there, you can see the dog, you can see how it's handled, you can see how it's been cared for. That means a lot. So the other thing I don't want to lose sight of here for the board is this is about the future. And if somebody went out of business and they were unwilling, no one put a person out of business. A person decided, and he's to move his business elsewhere because he did not want to list breeders on the cages. That was a simple thing. So I'm not going to take responsibility for chasing some business out of here. The only other thing I would say is that no one ever claims that rescues are perfect dogs and cats. We know they all have issues at some point in their life. Regular puppies bred by great breeders have issues. So there's no guarantee in life on that. But I do know I have visited a puppy mill years back, and that was an experience I will never forget, and I'm very honored to bring this ordinance to our board.
Any other comments? Ready to vote?
Yes.
Hand vote. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? Motion passes 5. Before I declare the vote, let me clarify what you're voting on. You're voting on an amended motion, which basically all the amended motion, if you'll correct me if I'm wrong, just says that we're banning the retail sale of dogs and cats, period.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
except for rescue.
Rescues.
Except for
It says
rescues.
that on it.
So,
Yes.
so,
Or
if you're
adoption
clarif,
days.
if
Or
everybody's
adoption.
still good with their vote, then, the motion, passes.
And that also does not affect adoption days.
Item 8.
Thank you.
Public hearing. Item 8, this is a public hearing, consideration resolution 2018-260, a resolution to approve the issuance of Health and Educational Facility Board of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Tennessee, of up to $14 million of healthcare facilities revenue bonds. Is there a
Public hearing.
Yeah, I gotta get through the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Barnhill, Vice Mayor Barnhill, seconded. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 9, consideration bid award to Southland Constructors in the amount of $6,671,000 for the construction of the City of Franklin Fire Station number 7 located in the I-65 Peytonville corridor.
Move for approval.
Seconded by Alderman Bransford. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 10, consideration of Resolution 2018-104, resolution to adopt the budget goals of FY 2019 to 20. Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 11, consideration of professional services agreement with Revere Control Systems Incorporated for the telemetry system maintenance contract in the amount of $51,170. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Berger. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 12, consideration of the appointment of Brian Laster to the Historic Zoning Commission. Brian's here. Raise your hand, Brian.
Move for approval.
Appropriate
Second.
motion, seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is item 13, consideration of the mayor's appointment of Jenny Szilagyi to the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission. Jenny's here tonight. She went through Citizens Government Academy, honor graduate, like everybody. So I'd entertain a motion to approve her appointment.
So move.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 14, consideration mayor's appointment of Brenton Montgomery to the Sustainability Commission.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Martin. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 15, consideration of mayor's reappointment of Julie Garland to the Franklin Public Arts Commission.
Move for approval.
Second.
We like to say stuff.
Seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 16 is reappointment of Sherry Fox to the Franklin Public Art Commission.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 17, consideration of mayor's appointment of Jennifer Alvarado to the Franklin Public Arts Commission to replace Kelly Self, who resigned. She's a Franklin Special School District art teacher.
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 18, consideration amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement with Heathcote and Davis for the Holiday Court Pump Station Upgrade Project for a cost increase of $5,900.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Any
I
discussion?
recuse myself.
Alderman Martin recuses herself. You ready to vote? Any discussion? Did you have a comment?
Next item.
He's ready.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-1, with Alderman Martin abstaining.
5-1.
5
Mr.
to 1.
Speedy's not here.
Thank you.
6 to 1, Mayor. Look.
6 to 1.
6 to 1.
6 to
That's the
1.
one. Okay, so, yeah.
Well, Margaret recused
Yeah,
herself.
anyway, yeah,
6-0 with one recusal.
Yes.
yeah.
Thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
Takes a village.
Thanks to the village. So,
Musical chairs.
my next item is,
The way we phrased the consent items, you said items 19 through 29. It's actually items 19 through 30. So we just ask you to act or accept item 30
Move
separately.
approval of item 30.
Second.
appropriate motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations to those that were appointed and those that came. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I move that we adjourn the 2018 session.
All in favor say aye. Opposed?
End of another year.
Next year.